Hey guys, welcome to our first podcast. I'm Colton Caldwell from Front Range Guide Service. We are live here today in Johnstown, Shields, and it's super excited to sit down here with some of our local guide services that we have. So make sure to follow along. We're going to ask questions. Like I said, being live integrates the aspect that people can come in, ask questions if they so choose. We have a handful of questions that we're going to talk about throughout the podcast itself, but make sure to tune in. It's going to be a fun one. All right, so just as I said, my name is Colton Caldwell, Front Range Guide Service. On the right, we have Paul.
Dustin Christensen, Big Thompson Outfitters.
And Steve Lutz with Birds of Fall Outfitters.
So we have 4 of our local guide services. We have a lot of guide services between Denver to the border of Wyoming. And if I counted correctly, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but I counted 23 the other night when I was just going through a list and writing people down, which is insane. 23 guide services, not including clubs, not including people hunting here locally. That's a crazy number to think of when you think of the fact of the pressure and the urbanized areas that we have to hunt. Everybody's centralized pretty much in the same areas, hunting the same population of birds, which is quite crazy. I know you guys deal with it every single day, but talk about the influences and the impacts it has on you as an outfitter here in Colorado and having that much pressure.
I think the pressure's definitely on, like you said. I mean, I think over the years, you can remember, I mean, probably before it was what it is today, there was definitely a smaller number of outfitters who were pretty prevalent, you know? And I think, I don't know, gosh, after 2018 or so, it seemed to have kind of hit that mark where it blew up. You know, I bet you there's probably more than 23, 24 outfitters. There's probably got to be close to 30.
I bet there is
Right.
23.
Yeah.
It probably is.
So,
It probably is.
definitely pressure. I mean, I remember back in the day, it used to be a little bit easier to obtain access or get on things, and things have definitely changed. You know, things have changed a lot.
So Steve, I know you've been in this industry for a long time, guiding for Stillwater Outfitters first originally, and then starting off and branching and doing your own thing, which I give a lot of props to you because you've been in the game a lot longer than I have. So I want you to talk about what the hunting was like here, in the 80s and the 90s when you were guiding in the 90s to what it is today and how it's changed over time.
So it may be hard to believe, but we used to never get lesser Canada geese here back in the day.
That's crazy.
And I remember when I first started guiding for Stillwater, my trailer, I had a 6x12 trailer. I had 5 dozen shells, 5 dozen silhouettes, and 5 dozen full bodies. Nowadays, you couldn't get it done with 15 dozen decoys. We are now what I call the land of the lessers.
Yeah.
And if it gets cold enough up north and we get a push of big ones, that's easy street.
Yeah.
When the big birds show up for us, it's like, oh man, today I'm going to put out 3 dozen decoys and I'm going to blow my honker call and not have to, try and fight for my air with my lesser call. But yeah. Right. And so, I mean, also too, back in the day, I remember as a kid growing up, our goose limit was 2.
Yeah.
2
Now
per
it's
guy.
5, which is crazy.
Right.
How it's overcome.
And I remember, guiding for Stillwater when it was 3. Man, we were shooting birds out of the field by 8 o'clock in the morning, killing 5-man limits, no problem.
And
So.
you showed all your family and the bird they killed. And
Right.
It's a big deal.
Yeah, so now it's become a lot more competitive. Obviously, Colorado has the largest growth in the United States as far as population. You got to put those people somewhere, and so a lot of the farm ground's gone away, and we've got subdivisions everywhere, and it's becoming a struggle to try to find the properties to be able to chase them. But if you think about this too, when you start numbering the amount of properties that the birds can go to, you've got that access to those certain areas, and most of us, we've tried to get properties in certain areas and be spread out and try not to keep all of our eggs in one basket so that we can chase them if we have to. So
Would you say you've noticed a difference, like with clientele, with there being such an influx of population of people? I mean, all of us, I'm curious. I know probably from guiding, 10, 12 years ago,
Right.
how essentially hard it was to get a group of clients in,
Right.
to now with that population here being thriving. And you have a lot more guys in that Denver metro or the northern Front Range who it's easy for them to just come and hop in on a day hunt, and
Right.
Would you say you've noticed a difference with that?
yeah, I mean, the number of Colorado Spring guys, I love my Springs guys, but that's like a 3-hour trek for them to get up here. So it's one of those things that now we're trying to figure out lodging for them overnight so that they can hunt with us. And some of them will drive up that morning, hunt with us, and then stay overnight that night so they're not wore out driving back home. don't have to fight the rush hour traffic on I-25 because we all know that is just god awful. But yeah, and just new people moving in. I cannot tell you how many California clients I have picked up over the last few years. And, you know, everybody kind of has given those folks a bad name in Colorado, but I tell you what, there are some good people in California that have moved out here that are great clients. And it's just, they got to find a place to hunt, and we've got those opportunities for them. So
it's easier, you think, now?
I think it's a little bit easier just due to the fact that there's less opportunity for somebody to go lease a farm, you know, because put this into perspective. You know, I got a 14-foot V-nose trailer with 110 dozen decoys in it. Who's going to be able to afford that? Okay, number one, super expensive. Okay, number two, most of your leases, if you're lucky, you'll find a lease for $3,000, and that's bottom end. Okay, then to have a pit dug, the cost of lumber to put lids on top of that thing, and then you have to have that thing filled in at the end of the season. I mean, you're in thousands of dollars to try and do it on your own. Where going with an outfitter, we've got the lids, we've got the pits, we've got the leases, we've got the decoys. It's basically a show up and shoot operation. So
it's not feasible unless you're going to hunt multiple days a week.
Correct.
On your own, for sure.
Yeah.
It's definitely turned into a rich man's.
Definitely.
Yeah.
100% outside of the fact that, you know, Colorado as a total demographic has a relatively good amount of, you know, we have a good economy in Colorado, right? So
Right.
I feel like our clientele in Colorado can afford it. It's become more expensive in Colorado, but we've also made it more affordable, hopefully, to our clients to go with any of the 23 guide services that are based from Denver here to the border. And we think back in the day, and Steve, you were talking about it, right? There was one original guide service, and they were taking at max 5 groups a day. Now you have 23 guide services, some of which are taking 4 groups a day. Man, you got to think the clientele range has obviously changed, and it's
Right.
grown exponentially throughout the past 20 years. So I think it's changed significantly just on that fact. And I know we talk about a lot of times and advocate for the pressure that we have, right? We have the most high pressured amount of Canada geese and ducks too as well. But I want to talk about what makes Colorado so unique. So Dustin, I'm going to phone on you on this because of the fact that I know you know what makes Colorado unique, but what makes Colorado more significantly special than any other state for somebody that's a waterfowl hunter?
Man, well, just the number one thing, like, where can you go kill geese and ducks with the mountains in the background?
Exactly,
Rocky,
exactly.
You know, and we can go from 50 degrees to 5 below in 2 days.
Yeah,
Like, I
yeah.
don't know too many other places where you hunt waterfowl where we get such drastic changes.
Yeah.
And that affects it a lot. Like,
100%.
I mean, you could have your birds there, and the next day we get this cold front, and your birds are gone. They're
Yeah.
over in the next county.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, I don't know. I think we got a unique weather system, the mountains.
Yeah.
You know, you can go from hunting in your t-shirt to freezing your butt off.
Yeah, 100%. Paul, what would you have to say along the lines? What makes Colorado special?
I mean, I'd have to say that the mountain backdrops.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not many. There's a few, but there's not many places you can hunt in the world
Yeah.
that have, you know, that distinct of a backdrop. And I think the variety we have here too. I mean,
Yeah.
we're not Canada. You know, let's get that out of the works right now. But
Yeah.
we still have the option where you can go to one corner of the state and be, you know, hammering pretty decent on the snow
Right.
geese and ducks, and then maybe jump back to the front range and kill a pile of lessers. I mean, the variety that we have here is cool.
Yeah.
And I think
Right.
that's yeah.
We killed almost every species last year. Ducks, divers.
That's so cool.
Ducks. Like, where can you do that?
Yeah.
And to branch off of that, you can kill every species of Canada goose here.
Yeah.
They say, I believe the number is, I want to say it's 7 or maybe it may be even more. It may be 13 now subspecies of Canada geese. We shoot every single one of them in Colorado, from honkers to lessers to even that occasional cackler. We get it here in Colorado. So to go out and to hunt, you never know what you're going to get, whether it's different subspecies or different species of ducks or subspecies of geese. It's all changing. So that's kind of the cool and unpredictable part about Colorado. So again, to stay on the same idea as like the pressure, right? We do have a lot of pressure. It's something that we can sit down and talk as guides and communicate and help each other out. But I want to talk about, you know, what of this aspect, what of more guides being in, say, Colorado has been a good or a bad thing. And I want to go back to you, Steve, to start, because you've been in the state and hunting a lot longer than we have.
Yeah, I mean, it is definitely a competitive business. I mean, obviously I worked for the #1 guide service when I was with Stillwater, and being that top dog for so long, you know, it got to be, you know, just amazing how many people were coming to hunt with us. Now that market is saturated for sure, you know, and everybody's got their niche. You know, Dustin with the train station and his new elevated platforms, there isn't anybody that has something like that where you're in a 3-story platform shooting down on birds. You know, that's incredible. You know, so he's definitely catering outside of the box. You know, the majority of us, you know, we have our pits dug in the ground, and Dustin has that as well. But, you know, it's one of those things that, in my opinion, if it ain't broke, don't fix it type deal. You know, we've killed them like this for a long time. And there's a lot of people that I get from out of state where they don't get to dig pits in their fields. You know, they have a better opportunity because they can go scout and gain permission on a farm that's an X, where we don't have that. We're leasing our farms, you know, in April. Yes. We don't even know what crop's going in for the most part. So we've kind of got to adapt and, you know, be ready to go with any situation that our farmers or landowners are going to throw at us, you know. And I've got a few farms where I tried digging pits, but the water table, I tried one time to hunt waders out of a dirt pit, and let me tell you what, that was not fun.
No, pass.
So there are certain scenarios and situations. Some landowners don't want you digging pits, so hunting out of A-frames. I do see a few guys still hunting out of the old goose spookers, the old layout blinds, but I think a lot of our birds have gotten wise to that. So layout blinds, they have a place, and there are certain cloud covers and weather situations. Snow is another great one for those layout blinds, but I think for the most part, a lot of guys are going to specialized, like stand-up A-frame type blinds, or the really cool stuff that Dustin's got going on, or they're in their pits.
Do you remember the whole, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong or what you're going to say, but like, do you remember everybody? That was the thing, you put your pit in the center of the field. I mean, that was it. And then I feel like, you know, to a degree, geese became wise. Even though you could pull in that thing, brush as much as you want, do whatever, you know, they become immune to that center of the field, something's off there. So spooky about that. You know, so people, it's just amazing how it's always evolving.
I got it.
Getting smarter.
Yeah, it's all about conditioning, right? It's not that the goose or the Canada goose or the duck is smart, you know, and it's not like they're any smarter here than they are in Arkansas. The difference between our birds here is that they just have more pressure. The more they get pressured, the more they're going to be conditioned. Survival of the fittest tells us that the smartest birds are going to survive a decoy spread, right? Which is going to create more smarter birds. So I know we've talked a little bit about that, but I know the elephant in the room and overhanging, and why a lot of people, I'm sure, clicked on this very video was because of the fact that we have 4 guide services here, and it is competitive, and we all hunt together. Steve hunts next to me, I hunt next to Dustin, Paul hunts next to us. We all are hunting in the same area, competing with the same birds every single day. So I wanted to first ask you, Paul, because I know we've had conversations about this before, but I want to ask you and see what your opinion is on us all collaborating, hunting together. And, you know, have you seen it as a bad thing? Have you seen it as a good thing? And I want to kind of see what your opinion is on it.
I think it's amazing. I think the more we can all get along, and like I said, I mean, we don't have to be best friends. Like we've talked about, like, you know, we don't have to be best friends. We don't have to go out and do anything. But if we can be cordial with one another and work not alongside each other, but hey, Steve, you know, hey, your pit's loaded up. You got a lot of birds over there.
Right.
Vice versa. Paul drove down the highway, see you got a bunch of birds on your pit. You know, if we can work together in little ways like that, it's not as vicious as some people make it out to be. By any means. It is. It's competition, and like we talked about as well, it doesn't matter if you sell cars or if you sell food. I mean, there's 100 people who sell food. There's 100 people who sell cars. There's 100 people who sell waterfowl hunts. But if, you know, if us here, you know, maybe can get along and make a start, and, you know, maybe it leaches out into some of the other hunting communities around or whatever. You know,
100%.
I think it'd be a great deal.
Yeah, and what's your opinion on it, Dustin?
I think it's good.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to not get along with any of you guys.
I couldn't agree more.
Be friends, and I look forward to going out and doing a hunt together with everybody. I think we should do that every year.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I know it's best for all of us as guide services to collaborate and say, hey, Steve, there's 1,000 geese in your field. And the reason why I say that is because Steve's probably going to go hunt that field with clients the next day, and it's going to push birds to other places, whether it's my places or somebody else's place.
For sure.
It's good for everybody to connect and collaborate together in order to us to officially just to understand that it's not us against us. It's us against the birds. And I know everybody sitting in these chairs right here knows that, versus I know a lot of guide services across the U.S. may not say the same thing,
right?
Which I think is interesting. I wanted to open up really quick to anybody that's standing here to ask a question. If you have one off the top of your head that we can answer live. Yeah, please go ahead.
Worried about the kids of our young America growing up
Yes.
in hunting sports.
Yeah.
I don't feel that it's covered enough. I don't think it's promoted enough. What do you guys think is a good idea to get kids out there hunting, promoting it with their parents and with the public in general to support hunting in the future? Because
yeah. So really quick, the question asked to the viewers back at home was that we're worried about the future of the sport. Where is it? If it is so competitive, if it is so expensive, how are we going to get kids into this sport today? And I know, Paul, you have an idea.
Well, yeah, and I don't have a great idea of it, but we're very, very big on youth hunts, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, anytime we have the opportunity to get a bunch of youth in the field, or a youth, or whatever it is, I mean, we don't charge our youth hunters,
yeah,
know, which I think is cool. I mean,
yeah.
you don't know the kids you take out September, you know, for teal could be your next right-hand man 10 years down the road. You just don't know.
Yeah.
And I think without the youth and without giving them a chance, like we all started somewhere as well.
Yeah.
Know? I mean,
100%.
We were a child at one point in time, you know, with an influence behind it, and you know, so I think it's very important to carry that on.
Definitely tougher for him than when I was a kid.
Oh,
I used to go
much
and get
tougher.
permission anywhere I wanted, and
Yeah.
it's not like that now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. We got to get him out there.
Yeah, I've gotten some of my dad's buddies that I grew up hunting with that are now booking hunts with me because they want to get out one more time with the kid that they took out, you know, and it's kind of a full circle deal for me on some of those guys, because I mean, none of us just hopped into a goose blind and knew what we were doing. We had to learn from the old school guys, and
I think we learn every day still.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
for sure.
Every day they may throw us a new curveball, the birds, or whether it be the people, or the weather conditions, or the patterns. You know,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
we have to adapt and learn every day as well.
100%.
And that's another thing, you know, communication. I probably talked to Colton's dad. I couldn't tell you how many times I talked to him throughout the season. And it's like, man, are you getting the same response that we're getting? And he's like, yes. And so we try to, you know, communicate with us and just what's working. Do we flag them to the pit? Do we call them all the way to the pit? Do we give them the silent treatment, not flag? You know, what are we doing here? And I think a lot of guys, the traditional guys, there's that T flag, and it's a killer. It works, but I see a lot of things like, I call it Jesus goose on a cross. Okay, a goose doesn't stand up in the spread and just do this. Okay, you know, keeping that flag down low. And I mean, there's a lot of times where I know we've all done it. You just barely get that flag above the decoy back just to give a little bit of motion and a little bit of presentation, and that a lot of times seals the deal.
Yeah.
So talking, you know, strategies and what's working and what's not working, you know, with other outfitters and what they're seeing. Because like you said, we're all in the same area chasing the same damn birds. So it's one of those things, if you think you can go out there and do the same thing every day, you're probably not going to be as successful as you think you're going to be. So.
Yeah, and along the same lines, I want to ask the question too as well, what can we do as outfitters in the state of Colorado to protect and to preserve our resource of Canada goose hunting and duck hunting that we have here? We do have one of the biggest wintering populations of Canada geese in Colorado, versus Texas has a big population, Kansas, Nebraska. There's so many more states that have big population wintering Canada geese, but we do ultimately have the biggest population of Canada geese. If you go out in a day, it's not going to be unlikely you might see 100,000 geese in one day, right?
Right.
So I want to talk about what we can do to protect and preserve that, especially because the man behind the camera back there, Brandon Fiend, works for Ducks Unlimited. Obviously somebody that I know we all work well with, right? Because that is the future of this resource, right?
For sure.
I think you know, you can be a good hunter, ethical, following rules.
Yeah.
To some degree here, you have to look at it, and it's going to be hard to preserve this.
Yeah.
You know, not only are we fighting development, you know, we're fighting each other, which is causing landowners to, you know, which I think is going to be a hard thing. Dustin, I think I guess comfortably out of any of us, like you're doing something that's cool. You can preserve an active waterfowl. Like we were talking about that earlier.
Yeah.
You know, he owns his ground, he's developed his ground, and he's doing it towards waterfowl, which is amazing. That's something I wish we could all do and do more of. But it's hard, respectably. It's hard to come up with that much money to fund a project like that. But you know, what can we do? I mean, what can we do? How do we preserve that if you're not able to stop development or growth, which is eating away our roosts, which is eating away these feed fields? How do you do that?
I think you got to save the landowners. You got to be nice to the property owners, and you know, treat them good. Invite them. I mean, everybody I lease from, I invite them out. They're hunters too. They come hunt with me, and they come out and I show them what we do, and you know, respect their property. We don't leave holes on the ground. We don't do nothing. We clean up. Leave it better than where we left it.
I think I have a lot of appreciation to our farmers in Colorado. I know the other big aspect of it, and what's been so key to Front Range Guide Service for so many years, is the management of birds, right? So knowing when and where to hunt, and even though we think that might be the best hunt for the day, knowing not to hunt that today and save it for another week, because it's gonna, you know, that is the roost, or that's the feed, and that's the only place that they have it safe, and trying to hunt the places around it. And that's kind of what I know has made us better as far as the management side and the protection of geese that still want to come here and winter here versus every place just getting hunted. You know?
Right, and I mean, we're at a luxury where we have multiple properties, and if we are fortunate enough to have an X, are those birds leaving the roost and going through one of our other properties where we can run traffic?
Yeah.
And still let them feed, because I mean, ultimately, these birds have 3 needs.
Yep.
They need a safe roost.
Yep.
They need food and water.
Yep.
So those are the 3 things that these birds need, or else they're going to leave.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, Colorado, if you're fortunate enough to have an X every time you go out, good on you.
Yeah.
Good on you.
Yeah.
Because I mean, 95% of the time we are hunting traffic.
Yeah.
Okay. So, you know, being a little less vigilant on the birds sometimes is a good thing. You know, they get in somewhere and they get comfortable. You know, I had a great scenario last year where I had about 20 to 50,000 birds that stayed in this corridor. They were on private ground that nobody was hunting, and they were going through me every day. Okay. It was a blessing.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things, there aren't a whole lot of those properties where those birds can go and feed comfortably and not be disturbed.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, no, I mean, if you have an idea, let's continue on the same tangent.
And I was just going to talk a little bit of difference. Like, I think from up north to where, like, we branch into, you know, like up north, you see a lot of the, I don't know how you'd call that, like, so, you know, 100-acre, you know, 50-acre farms, 150-acre, smaller farms, you know, like, and down south, I guess, where I'm at, we have a lot, you know, some of our fields may be 600, 800, 1,500 acres, you know, per wheat field.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, kind of makes a lot of difference too. Up north, you have, you know, so many more pits and this and that, you know, which creates more pressure, harder for those birds to get into a confined feed and stay comfortable.
Yeah.
You know, down there, we almost run into that issue of we see feeds of it sounds crazy, but 40, 50,000 birds.
Yeah,
for sure. They will use that same field, even fed out or not. They will use that from early November until they're well out of the state.
Right.
And you know, and it can't be touched. A lot of it's either a corporation farmed or, you know, the airport owns, whatever it is.
Yeah. Right.
But I think, you know, spots like those are a necessity. I don't see a lot of that up north, but you guys see that mass. You know,
yeah.
Right away.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, kind of along the same thing, right? We talked about it's not us against us, it's us against the birds, and us against, more importantly, even the conditions, right? So let's talk about the conditions. What do you guys think? I want everybody to voice their opinion, starting with Steve over here. What do you think is the best condition over a season that you think is best for waterfowl hunting in Colorado? Is it warm? Is it cold? I know we're all going to be different on this, so I want to start with you, Steve.
So I always tell my clients, my ideal conditions, I want about 2 inches of snow on the ground, bright sunshine, and a 10 to 15 mile an hour wind from one direction.
Yeah.
If I can get those ingredients, I promise you I'm going to kill them.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't take into consideration the sun is a natural blind spot.
Yeah.
And when we have the snow on the ground, that reflects.
Yeah.
So now we got 2 blind spots.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to be smart in how you set your spread and everything, and that's where the wind comes into the whole scenario too. And so when you can put all three of those ingredients together, once this is the same thing, that fight against the birds.
Yeah.
We can take away some of they're very visual, okay? Their brains are only the size of a walnut,
Yeah.
And I do truly believe over the years we have made these birds a hell of a lot smarter, because I remember back in the day when guys were hunting over tires that were cut in half.
Yeah.
You don't see that anymore.
No.
Now we've got fully flocked and printed silhouettes. It is such a different ball game now as far as the decoys go. But yeah, in that aspect, with those three ingredients, I feel like that's probably where I'm going to be the most successful.
What would you say yours is, Dustin?
Man, mine's got to be sunny and cold too.
Yep.
I don't necessarily need the snow because most of my spots I hunt water.
Right.
Yeah.
But sunny and cold, and I keep the water open, and
Yeah.
we're gonna smash them all year long.
Yeah.
Guaranteed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm kind of opposite in the sense of I like the warm days. So Steve
Yep.
is laughing over here
Oh, yeah.
because I know the viewers at home are like, the warm days? What do you mean by that? I like the conditions when it's 65 degrees in the middle of the day, wind or no wind. Obviously, if you have wind as a factor, a heavy wind, those are killing days, right? You see wind in the forecast, you're going to get them. But outside of that, I like it to be warm. And the reason why I like it to be warm is because our geese that we get from Canada, the Lessers, the first original push we get in November, those geese will stay all year long if we don't get a lot of snow.
Right.
If we get 2 inches, they'll stay. If we get 4 inches, they'll stay. If we get 5 or 6, they're gone. They're on to Texas, right?
Yep.
We're not completely the end of the migration here. So I like to keep the big mass population of Lessers because I think those are the easiest geese to hunt, my personal opinion.
Right.
So I like the warm days. You throw a little wind in there every now and again, and I'm a happy camper. What would you have to say, Paul?
I'm pretty much spot on with you right there. I do like a warmer day. I mean,
Yeah.
Nobody's going to complain about it, cooler, sunshiny day with some wind. But,
Yeah.
ideally 45, 50 degrees, 55, somewhere in there,
Yeah.
and the big masses of Lessers. I think
Yeah.
it makes our job a lot easier.
Yeah.
It puts on the show, the experience that you
100%.
show guys.
Right.
Those. But, I love a good snow day.
Yeah.
Dumbs them up.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's all about changing conditions, and Dustin talked about it. We do hunt an area where it can go from 75 to a blizzard the next day in a hurry. That's a real possibility here. Those changing conditions, that's what makes the birds dumb, right? And like we said, it's conditioning, but the changing conditions makes them unconditioned.
Right.
So it's back to square one. I mean, it's basically like hunting fresh birds,
Right.
even though it may be the same birds you've hunted for the past 30 days.
Yeah.
Ducks too. We all kill ducks
Right.
in the field.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
And 15
Yep.
years ago, I could kill them 7 days a week, every evening. And
Yep.
They were in the field.
Yeah.
Now the only chance we got is if we get a snow day or
Yeah.
some weather.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they are coming 15 minutes after, and
Yeah.
it's like we have no chance unless we get them in the cold. At least us.
Yeah,
Maybe you
no,
guys.
no. And the interesting part about this is that the first week of the season, Steve knows, Paul knows, there's going to be local ducks that are going to the field an hour before shooting light, and it will be 80 degrees.
Yep.
But they'll be going out early, and that's because they're not getting pressured, right?
Exactly.
It's as soon as they start getting pressured heavy that things all of a sudden automatically change, and
Right.
that's when you have to have those conditions. But it's interesting because you start off the season in a completely different mindset than you end the season with
sure.
every single year.
For sure.
Every single year.
Yeah, by the end of the season, I'm kind of praying for snow north of us so we can get some of them tankers down here because I need a break.
Righto. A lot of people don't understand that we get an east and west migration almost as much as we get that north and south migration.
Correct.
So a lot of our ducks are coming from Walden out of the mountains. A lot of our geese, when it gets really cold in Utah, are coming from Utah over the mountains coming into the Front Range of Colorado.
Have you guys seen a couple of those Utah bands over the last few years?
Yeah, we actually had one last year, and I know Steve shot one a handful of years back. I want
killed
you
a
to actually
banded-
talk about the story of this band.
So I subleased a farm from Jeff and Colton, and we were just north of Windsor Reservoir, and it was a silage field. And this was when they had first done away with our early goose season, so we were opening up the beginning of November. And I had kind of warned some of these guys that, at the beginning of this season, we might not have our Lessers. Unless we get weather up north, our calendar birds don't show up till about Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So sure enough, we didn't have but maybe 50 Lessers that were on Big Windsor. And I just had the lucky hand that day. I had about 1,500 local birds that were heading to that pond or to that cornfield. We went out and we shot them up good. And the last bird that died that morning was a banded quills from Utah.
How rare is that? You shoot a Quills Lake goose on opening morning,
Right.
and it's banded? Are you kidding me? That's like as rare as it gets. That's more rare than I think a blonde mallard or anything along those lines.
And
that's a crazy
if I
story.
wasn't there, I probably would have told the guy he was full of shit. But
yeah,
I was there and I saw it. My stepson was the one who shot it, and he was so excited because when he picked it up, he saw the white belly, and I was like, "Man, you got a Quills?" And he's like, "Yeah." And then the leg flopped over, and I was like, "And it's banded," So, I mean, it's weird how this flyway works, and sometimes those Utah birds come over the divide and they get here and they don't go back.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what happened in that instance, right? The winter before was really cold. We got our big geese.
Exactly.
For like the biggest big goose population that we've had in a minute, right?
Yep.
So all those geese came over from Utah. They stayed in the springtime, and then they thought, it's beautiful here. We can go in the neighborhoods. We can go in the houses. We don't get pestered. We sit on golf courses.
Yep.
They're like, why don't we just nest here? And they never went back. And that was that instance specifically, which I think is super cool and unique.
Yep.
But I know we talked a lot about goose hunting, and a little bit about our duck hunting. But let's talk about our duck hunting too as well. We have such a unique place, especially with the amount of banded mallards that we have in Colorado, right? Almost one of the bigger population banded mallards across the U.S.
Yep.
And I want to talk about the reason why. I know it's specifically because they band a lot in Walden, Colorado.
Yep.
And on the Front Range, as soon as Walden freezes up, those ducks come down, and we see a bunch of banded mallards for the first couple weeks of this season. Did you shoot any last year, Paul, by chance? You guys shot a lot of ducks. I know you did too as well. Did you shoot any bands, or did you?
No, we seen a lesser band last year.
Yeah.
No, but actually a majority of our ducks have came from that Alamosa region. All
Really?
The mallards that we shoot.
Really?
Up in Walden too.
Yeah, of course.
I think not last year, but the year prior, I think we seen like 6 ducks.
Yeah.
We're banded up in Walden.
Yeah.
From Gadwall to mallards.
And they're usually banded that year, right? They banded in August. You shoot them in October.
Had a buddy, no joke. He's he's a good guy. Hunts with us a lot. He shot a pintail band last year, and then a mallard band, and then frickin' a widgeon band, all in the same season.
Wow.
Has the best luck. But his pintail band, he was out with a buddy, and he shot one, 2-pack came in, buddy went and picked his up. Yeah, they're both banded in sync with each other. So that's kind of cool.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
Cool. The interest.
Project. Up that 0998 project.
That's
so
new.
Prevalent for,
Right.
Yeah, that was cool for a lot of years.
Yeah, and I saw there's kind of bringing it back, right? Last year we shot a Fort Collins mallard band. That was new.
Right.
That was new to us. But the interesting part that I think of is when I was a kid, my very first banded ducks, they're all from up north, whether it was Manitoba or Montana or Saskatchewan or none of it, wherever it may be, all of our ducks came from the north. Now you see people shooting banded ducks from similar places, but rarely do I ever see one in Colorado that's from up north. And I what that tells me is that we're not getting a huge push of ducks from up north. I think our duck flight line actually shifted further east, but we're still getting our big population of Walden ducks and mountain ducks, as we call them, that come down in the early season. But would you guys agree too as well?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, Montana has gotten more agricultural over the year, and we do get a lot of our birds come right through Montana.
Yeah.
Well, you got the Bighorn River up there. You got the Yellowstone River. Those rivers, it takes a lot of cold to get them frozen or flowing ice. So those birds constantly have open water, and if they don't get the snow up there, they got a smorgasbord of food now. So having those conditions in Montana, that's why we don't see our big geese. That's why we don't see those big fat northern greenheads towards the end of the season. They're hanging out in Montana, living the good life up there. So, but yeah, I mean, I think the last 2 bands that we shot, we were both Walden bands.
Yeah.
There's going to be more banded ones. I don't know, like the duck you shot from Fort Collins.
Yeah.
The USDA, there's a girl who just got her banding permit. Her name's Kelsey Weir from the USDA.
Awesome.
And she's been coming out, and she's actually looking for spots that have ducks. So if any of you guys even like, she called
I got a place.
if you got a place and want her to come do it, she has her permit. And she wants to be involved and do that. Like she contacted us last year, and she comes out and checks the ducks. She's actually checking for bird flu in ducks. Yeah. But she got a banding permit, and she banded 400 ducks in Fort Collins last year.
Oh wow! I bet it exactly was. That's cool.
And I know another kid, Tyler White. Him and his dad both shot banded ducks, a gadwall and a mallard. And what's funny is she banded 1 gadwall in Fort Collins.
And that was it?
The one he shot, and the rest were mallards. Like
oh my gosh.
400 bands.
That's super cool.
But she's looking for a place, and honestly, she didn't have it last year right at the time at the beginning when we
Yeah.
had them there, but
Yeah.
you know, she wants to come band diver ducks, mallards, everything. And so if anybody has spots, like she will come
Yeah.
set up and we could all get together and help because
Yeah.
she's looking for volunteers
Yeah.
that want to come help net the ducks, and she has a permit to bait them.
Yeah.
She can do whatever to get them in there and ban them. I think it's good.
That's awesome. Well, that's,
Nothing like
I mean,
getting a ban.
the same thing for the viewers at home. If you guys have a place where you think you could band a lot of ducks, make sure and reach out to us. Leave a comment at the bottom of this podcast and tell us where it might be, because we're definitely interested. I know it's better for the sport, and I also know it's better for us
It'd
too
be
as well.
good for all of us to get
Yeah.
together and help.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's all about conservation, right? We don't have a job without this conservation. So we talked about it earlier, but that is the importance. We don't have a job without the future of the sport, which is the kids that we talked about earlier
Right.
too.
Yep.
Those are some of our biggest factors that I know weigh in my mind every single night. So that's super cool. I want to talk about too as well, what is the biggest misconception from clients that are coming from out of state to hunt in Colorado? This is a little bit tougher question, but I mean, Steve is smiling right away, so I got to go to you, Steve, and then I'm going to come to you, Paul, next. I want to know what your answer is.
I think, you know, going back to the old days where we always shot big geese, you know, I get a lot of guys that call me and they're like, hey, we want to kill honkers. Like, man, I said, you better think about booking your hunt, you know, after Christmas or, you know, into the end of January, you know, February. But we just don't get those big geese anymore. And, you know, Colorado is notorious, okay? Every time you see a Bronco game, they're showing the ski resorts.
Yeah.
Snow, cold. Everybody thinks when they come out here to do a goose hunt that it's going to be cold.
Yeah.
That's not always the case.
Yeah.
I mean, there are a lot of mornings that we're in a hoodie and a vest.
Yeah.
And then by the time the geese start flying and I start ripping on a goose call, the hoodie's
down to
gone,
just the
the
vest.
vest
Maybe
is
not even a
gone.
hoodie.
Yeah,
Maybe nothing.
Exactly. So, I mean, we're not the cold weather hunting destination like we used to be. Our weather has definitely changed. So, I think some of those guys, I get some guys from the East Coast, and talking to those guys after they hunted with me last year, they went home and they had 18 inches of snow.
Yeah.
In North Carolina. And it's like, what? You know,
Yeah.
I would take 2 inches of your snow because we are dry.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, I think that's one of the biggest things. A lot of clients, you know, think that they're coming out here and it's going to be a cold weather hunt.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, and that's
Well,
just not the case anymore.
Yeah. What would you say yours is, Paul?
And I mean, I'd honestly kind of have to agree, you know, alongside
Yeah.
with you. And then, you know, people, I don't know if we, in some situations, the feed hunting, and some can't. Where other states,
Yeah.
I'd be like, feed hunting is the jam.
Yeah.
Hunt feeds. I tell guys that, you know, 9 out of 10 times we're running traffic.
Yeah.
You know, so that's one thing I try to be transparent with.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of guys are like, oh, well, you know, we're going to hunt feeds or do this and that. And it's not always like that. You
Yeah.
know, there's a lot of factors that
Right.
kind of give into that. But yeah, that and the weather. I mean, I'd have to agree alongside of the weather.
Yeah.
You know
Most
what
people
else
think it's gonna be warm.
nobody ever thinks about? I just had a guy actually yesterday call me from
Yeah.
Louisiana, and he's like, wow, like I was seeing the website and seeing the pictures. He's like, you guys are really in Colorado. He's like, I didn't think you guys had birds in Colorado.
Yeah,
And
we
I
have a
hear it
huge
lot.
population.
Like people
Yeah.
don't realize that. Like, yeah, some people know we have geese, but a lot of people don't know we get ducks.
Yeah.
You know, and
Right.
a lot of people don't even know we get geese. Everybody
Yeah.
thinks Missouri, Arkansas, Louisiana, Texas, but
Yeah.
When in all reality, we're probably
one of the
one
best.
of, if not the
100%. 100%.
Right.
Yeah. So really quick, we're going to wrap this up. But Steve, I want you to say one thing. If you could tell the viewers at home looking into that camera there, if you could tell them one thing, what would you say about Colorado?
You never know what you're going to get. Come out expecting to see plenty of targets. And one of my biggest things that I tell my clients, because now that we do hunt so many lessers, you really have to focus as a shooter. Pick a bird, kill a bird. When you come out of the pit and there's 50 to 150 geese in front of you, it is super tough to just pick a bird. You have to really dial up your shooter skills and get on them, because I've seen multiple guys come out and heads off the gun, they're watching the show and not picking a target, and they're just poking holes in the sky. You wouldn't think you could miss with that many geese in front of you, but they definitely do that. So that was probably my biggest thing.
No, I think we can all agree on that. Dustin, what would you say about Colorado?
I would say everybody should experience once at least. Like we do. We like you know, I don't know like how much water and stuff you guys hunt, but
Yeah.
like I said, we shot almost every species of diver ducks and puddle ducks last year.
Yeah.
There's only a couple we didn't get
Yeah.
in our flyway.
Right.
It's just a good place, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, bring a kid. That's
Yeah.
the most important.
Yeah.
For sure.
Bring a kid. What would you have to say, Paul?
Yeah, I think Colorado's a unique place to hunt. I think everybody should experience it. We've got an array of different things, opportunities. Definitely a beautiful place in the waterfowl world.
100%. I think for myself, I would definitely have to say, we touched about it, but the population of birds, right? Guys that come from Utah, guys that come from Georgia, guys that come from the south and the north, doesn't matter where it is across the country. We have a huge population of waterfowl here. Come see it firsthand. Come experience it. Come get under 100,000 geese in one day. And come in November when we got every species that you could so think of. And come enjoy it. I think this is a cool place. One last thing, guys, I want to thank Johnstown Shields once again for being able to allow us to film this podcast here. Yep. Super cool, super interactive, allowing people to come in here and ask questions. And we look forward to doing this again. So make sure and follow along. The hunting season is just getting started for us. I know it starts on Monday for everybody here. We're going to do this again, though, so this won't be the last one. But thanks for watching, guys.
Thanks.
Good boys. You're awesome.